And now, even with Trump's approval numbers up, the New York Times reports that several Republican governors, well, they say that they're concerned about a blue wave coming. I'm going to go to former Bush 43 White House Press Secretary Ari Fleischer on that. Ari, again, these blue state Democrats, it's what can I tell you? That's the governors. What can I tell you? That's the governors. The Republicans, the never Trumpers, the media has a great source of people on this Republican side who are always concerned about President Trump, but I don't think the vast majority of Republican voters are. How will that play out, do you think, right now in November?
Well, I think there's cause for concern for Republicans for a variety of reasons. One, history. The first term of a president's reelect is always a term, almost always a time of setback for the party in power. That's a historical standard. Ronald Reagan went through it in 1982. He lost 26 seats in the House that year.
Okay, so this is absolutely wild. And I mean wild in a way that just shows you how Trump is desperately trying to paper over the damage his own policies have caused. Because what's happening right now is Trump is announcing a $12 billion bailout for farmers. Trump is calling it the Farmer Bridge Assistance Program. Trump is trying to make it sound like he's helping farmers. Trump is trying to make it sound like he's fixing the problem. But the truth is, Trump created this problem. Trump's tariffs created this problem. Trump's trade war created this problem. And now Trump is using taxpayer money to try to cover it up. And farmers are furious. Farmers are angry that Trump created the problem in the first place. Farmers are angry that Trump is only giving them a Band-Aid when they need real solutions. Farmers are angry that Trump is treating them like fools. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest, you can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us. Be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
The Democratic intensity was huge. Races Republicans should have won by double digits. They barely squeaked by on several special elections to the House. So it gives me pause looking ahead to 2018, which is only now 3 months away.
Right now, the Democratic, I guess, is the lead going into 2018 is down to 6 points. It was 10 points, and I think it was even larger than that. So what's making this change? What's changing this dynamic? What's changing the president? Because the president hasn't altered his approach at all.
So here's what happened. Trump imposed tariffs. Trump imposed 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada. Trump is threatening to impose 30% tariffs on Mexico over water and migration. Trump imposed tariffs on China. Trump is imposing tariffs on everything. And tariffs hurt farmers. When Trump imposed tariffs on China, China retaliated. China stopped buying American agricultural products. China stopped buying soybeans. China stopped buying corn. China stopped buying wheat. And farmers lost their biggest market. Farmers lost billions of dollars in sales. Farmers were devastated. And that's not all. Tariffs also drive up the cost of inputs. Fertilizer costs went up, fuel costs went up, equipment costs went up. Everything that farmers need to produce crops got more expensive because of tariffs. And at the same time, farmers couldn't sell their crops to China. So farmers were getting squeezed from both sides. Costs went up, revenue went down, farmers were losing money, farmers were going broke. And Trump knew this was happening. Trump knew that tariffs were hurting farmers. Trump knew that his trade war was devastating rural America. But Trump kept imposing tariffs anyway. Trump thought the tariffs would work. Trump thought China would back down. Trump thought the tariffs would help America in the long run. But meanwhile, farmers were suffering. Farmers were losing money. Farmers were going bankrupt. And so now Trump is announcing a $12 billion bailout. Trump is saying that he's helping farmers. Trump is saying that this is relief for farmers hurt by tariffs. Trump is basically admitting that his tariffs hurt farmers. Trump is basically admitting that his trade war damaged agriculture. But Trump is framing it as a temporary bridge program. Trump is calling it the Farmer Bridge Assistance. Trump is acting like this is just temporary help while things get better. But things are not going to get better. Trump is not going to remove the tariffs. Trump is just going to keep imposing more tariffs. Trump is just going to keep hurting farmers. And $12 billion is not going to be enough to cover the damage. And farmers know this. Farmers are not stupid. Farmers can see that Trump created the problem. Farmers can see that Trump's tariffs hurt them. Farmers can see that a $12 billion bailout is not enough. Farmers can see that Trump is trying to cover up the damage his policies caused, and farmers are angry. Farm groups are coming out and saying that this bailout is inadequate. Farm groups are saying that Trump's tariffs are the real problem. Farm groups are saying that Trump needs to remove the tariffs, not just give farmers money to survive while the tariffs are in place. And some farmers are being left out entirely. Some farmers are not in the main row crop categories. Some farmers grow specialty crops. Some farmers run diversified operations. Some smaller farmers are not getting the full benefit of the bailout, and those farmers are angry. Those farmers feel like they're being left behind. Those farmers feel like Trump doesn't care about them. And this is happening while Trump is claiming that he fixed inflation. Trump is claiming that prices are down. Trump is claiming that the economy is great. But Trump is spending $12 billion to bail out farmers. Trump is essentially admitting that his policies are hurting the economy. Trump is essentially admitting that his tariffs are causing problems. Trump is spending $12 billion of taxpayer money to cover up the damage his own policies caused. And that's outrageous. That's absurd. That shows how disconnected Trump is from reality. And this is going to hurt Trump politically. Farmers are a core part of Trump's base. Farmers voted for Trump. Farmers supported Trump. Farmers believed that Trump would help them, but Trump didn't help them. Trump hurt them. Trump imposed tariffs that devastated agriculture. Trump destroyed farmers' markets. Trump cost farmers billions of dollars. And now Trump is offering a Band-Aid. Now Trump is offering temporary relief instead of actual solutions. And farmers are going to remember this. Farmers are going to remember that Trump hurt them. Farmers are going to remember that Trump's tariffs devastated agriculture. Farmers are going to remember that Trump offered only temporary relief instead of actually fixing the problem. And in 2026, when farmers go to vote, farmers are going to vote against Trump. Farmers are going to vote for Democrats. Farmers are going to try to remove Republicans from power. And that's going to cost Republicans in rural areas. And this is connected to Trump's broader pattern of creating problems and then trying to cover them up. Trump imposed tariffs. Trump's tariffs drove up prices. Prices went up. Trump then claimed that inflation was fixed. Trump claimed that prices were down. Trump was lying about inflation while his own policies were driving up inflation. And now Trump is doing the same thing with farmers. Trump's tariffs hurt farmers. Trump is now spending $12 billion to help farmers, but Trump is still claiming that his policies are working. Trump is still claiming that his trade war is helping America. Trump is lying about the consequences of his own policies, and voters are getting tired of this. Voters are tired of being lied to. Voters are tired of Trump creating problems and then pretending they don't exist. Voters are tired of Trump spending taxpayer money to cover up the damage his policies caused. Voters are tired of Trump claiming victory while his own policies are failing. And in 2026, voters are going to vote against Trump. Voters are going to vote for Democrats. Voters are going to try to remove Trump and his allies from power because Trump's policies are failing. Trump's tariffs are hurting people. Trump is lying about the consequences, and voters know it. All right, so let me explain what people are completely missing about this $12 billion farmer bailout and why it's so significant for understanding what's actually happening with Trump's trade war and how it's destroying rural America. Because most people, when they hear about a $12 billion bailout, they might think, okay, so Trump is helping farmers. But this is not helping farmers. This is covering up the damage that Trump caused. This is Trump using taxpayer money to patch over problems created by his own policies. This is Trump essentially admitting that his tariffs hurt farmers, but instead of removing the tariffs, Trump is just giving farmers money to survive while the tariffs remain in place. This is a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. This is temporary relief instead of actual solutions. So let's start with what actually happened. Trump imposed tariffs. Trump imposed 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada. Trump is threatening to impose even higher tariffs on Mexico. Trump imposed multiple rounds of tariffs on China, and these tariffs were supposed to help America. Trump claimed that tariffs would bring manufacturing back to America. Trump claimed that tariffs would create jobs. Trump claimed that tariffs would strengthen America's negotiating position. Trump claimed that tariffs would protect American workers. But what actually happened? Tariffs did hurt China, but China retaliated. China stopped buying American agricultural products. China is the largest market for American soybeans. China is a major market for American corn, wheat, and other crops. And China stopped buying these products in retaliation for Trump's tariffs. And American farmers lost their biggest customer. American farmers lost billions of dollars in sales. American farmers saw their commodity prices collapse. American farmers were devastated, and that's not all. Tariffs also drive up the cost of doing business. When Trump imposed tariffs on imported goods, the cost of imported inputs went up. Farmers import fertilizer, farmers import equipment, farmers import fuel. All of these things got more expensive because of tariffs. Farmers had to pay higher prices for fertilizer. Farmers had to pay higher prices for equipment. Farmers had to pay higher prices for fuel. And at the same time, farmers couldn't sell their crops to China, so farmers were getting squeezed. Costs went up, revenue went down, farmers were losing money. And this has been going on for a long time. Trump imposed tariffs back in 2018 and 2019. Trump kept imposing tariffs throughout his first term. And when Trump came back to office in 2025, Trump immediately started imposing more tariffs. Trump imposed tariffs on Mexico. Trump is threatening tariffs on Mexico over water and migration. Trump is imposing tariffs on China again. And the damage to farmers keeps getting worse. Farmers have been dealing with tariffs and low commodity prices for years. Farmers have been struggling. Farmers have been going bankrupt. And Trump knew this. Trump knew that tariffs were hurting farmers. Trump had to bail out farmers in 2018 and 2019 during his first term. Trump gave farmers money to help them survive while Trump's trade war was happening. So Trump knew that his tariffs hurt farmers. Trump knew that tariffs were causing damage, but Trump kept imposing tariffs anyway. Trump thought the tariffs would eventually work. Trump thought China would eventually give in. Trump thought it was worth hurting farmers in the short term to gain advantage in the long term. But it didn't work. The trade war didn't work. China didn't give in. And now Trump is imposing tariffs again. Trump is hurting farmers again. And Trump is giving farmers another bailout. Trump is spending $12 billion to help farmers survive while Trump's tariffs are devastating agriculture. But here's the thing, $12 billion is not enough. Farm economists are saying that the bailout doesn't fully offset the losses farmers are experiencing from tariffs and high input costs. The bailout is too small. The bailout is temporary. The bailout doesn't fix the underlying problem. The bailout doesn't remove the tariffs. The bailout doesn't restore market access. The bailout just gives farmers enough money to survive for a little while longer. And some farmers are not even getting the money. The bailout focuses on row crop farmers. Row crop farmers grow corn, soybeans, wheat, rice, sorghum, cotton. These are the big commodity crops. These are the crops that went into China. These are the crops that were hit hardest by Chinese retaliation. So row crop farmers are getting the most money. But what about specialty crop farmers? What about farmers who grow fruits and vegetables? What about smaller diversified farms? These farmers are getting left out or undercompensated. These farmers are furious. These farmers feel like Trump doesn't care about them. And farm groups are calling this out. Farm groups are saying that the bailout is inadequate. Farm groups are saying that Trump's tariffs are the real problem. Farm groups are saying that Trump needs to change course. Farm groups are saying that Trump needs to remove tariffs and restore market access instead of just giving farmers money to survive. And this is connected to Trump's broader economic failures. Trump is claiming that he fixed inflation. Trump is claiming that prices are down. But Trump is spending $12 billion to bail out farmers. Trump is essentially admitting that his policies are hurting the economy. Trump is essentially admitting that his tariffs are causing damage. Trump is spending taxpayer money to cover up the consequences of his own policies. And this is particularly problematic because Trump is claiming that he's fighting for ordinary Americans. Trump is claiming that he's fighting against big corporations. Trump is claiming that he's standing up for workers. But Trump's tariffs are actually hurting ordinary people. Trump's tariffs are driving up prices on groceries. Trump's tariffs are driving up prices on cars. Trump's tariffs are driving up prices on everything. And when Trump hurts farmers, Trump is also hurting consumers because farmers produce food. When farmers can't afford to operate, food prices go up. When farmers go out of business, food supply decreases, and consumers end up paying more. So Trump's tariffs are hurting both farmers and consumers. Trump is hurting rural America. Trump is hurting urban America. Trump is hurting the entire country. And Trump's response is to give farmers $12 billion. But $12 billion doesn't fix the problem. $12 billion just temporarily patches over the damage. $12 billion is a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. Okay, so let me break this down into what actually matters, because there's a lot of economics and politics here. But really, there's just a few core things you need to understand. Number one, what Trump's tariffs actually did to farmers. And it's straightforward. Trump imposed tariffs. China retaliated by stopping purchases of American agricultural products. Farmers lost their biggest market. Farmers saw their income collapse. Farmers have been struggling for years. This is not new. Farmers have been dealing with Trump's tariffs and the consequences of the trade war since 2018. Farmers have been going bankrupt. Farmers have been suffering. And Trump knew this was happening. Trump had to bail out farmers before, and now Trump is bailing out farmers again. This is a pattern. Trump's policies hurt farmers. Then Trump uses taxpayer money to help farmers survive, while Trump's policies remain in place. Number two, what the $12 billion bailout actually does and doesn't do. And it provides temporary relief for some farmers. The bailout gives money to row crop farmers to help them survive while tariffs are in place. But the bailout doesn't remove the tariffs. The bailout doesn't restore market access. The bailout doesn't fix the underlying problem. The bailout just gives farmers enough money to survive a little longer, and the bailout is too small. Farm economists say it doesn't fully offset losses from tariffs and high input costs. The bailout leaves some farmers out entirely. Specialty crop farmers and smaller diversified farms are not getting the full benefit, so the bailout is inadequate. Number three, why this shows that Trump's policies are failing. And it shows that Trump's tariffs are hurting the economy. Trump is spending $12 billion to bail out farmers. That's $12 billion of taxpayer money. That's $12 billion that could be spent on something else. But instead, it's being spent to cover up the damage Trump's tariffs caused. If Trump's policies were actually working, if Trump's tariffs were actually good for the economy, then Trump wouldn't need to bail out farmers. But Trump does need to bail them out. That shows that Trump's policies are failing. That shows that Trump's tariffs are hurting people. That shows that Trump's trade war is damaging the economy. Number four, what this means for Trump's political position in rural areas. And it means Trump is losing support. Farmers are a core part of Trump's base. Farmers voted for Trump. Farmers supported Trump. But Trump hurt farmers. Trump's tariffs devastated agriculture. Trump cost farmers billions of dollars. And now Trump is offering a Band-Aid. Now Trump is offering temporary relief instead of actually fixing the problem by removing tariffs. And farmers know that this is inadequate. Farmers know that Trump is just trying to cover up the damage. And farmers are going to remember this. Farmers are going to remember that Trump hurt them. And in 2026, farmers are not going to vote for Trump the same way they did before. Number five, what this says about Trump's broader approach to problems. And Trump creates problems, then tries to cover them up with taxpayer money instead of actually fixing the problems. Trump imposed tariffs. Trump's tariffs drove up prices. Prices went up. Trump claimed that inflation was fixed. Trump was lying about inflation. Trump's tariffs were causing inflation. Now Trump imposed tariffs again. Trump's tariffs are hurting farmers. Trump is using taxpayer money to bail out farmers, but Trump is not removing the tariffs. Trump is not fixing the underlying problem. Trump is just throwing money at it. And this is a pattern. Trump creates problems. Trump refuses to admit the problems are caused by his policies. Trump tries to cover up the problems with taxpayer money. And Trump lies about whether his policies are working. Number six, what this means for 2026 and the midterms. And it means that rural voters are going to be angry. Farmers are going to be angry. Rural communities are going to feel like Trump let them down. Rural communities voted for Trump. Rural communities supported Trump, but Trump's policies hurt rural communities. Trump's tariffs devastated agriculture. Trump is now bailing out farmers, but only with temporary relief. And rural voters are going to remember this. Rural voters are going to feel betrayed. And in 2026, rural voters might not vote the same way they did before. Some rural voters might vote for Democrats. Some rural voters might just stay home. And that could swing close elections. That could flip competitive seats. That could change the outcome of midterm elections. So this farmer bailout is really significant. This bailout shows that Trump's policies are failing. This bailout shows that Trump's tariffs are hurting people. This bailout shows that Trump is trying to cover up the damage his policies cause instead of actually fixing the problems. This bailout is going to anger farmers. This bailout is going to alienate rural voters. This bailout is going to hurt Trump politically. And the timing is terrible for Trump. Trump's approval is already in the mid-30s. Trump is already deeply unpopular. Trump is already losing support. And now Trump is announcing a bailout. Now Trump is essentially admitting that his policies are hurting farmers. Now Trump is spending $12 billion of taxpayer money to cover up the damage his policies caused. And voters are going to see this as a desperate move. Voters are going to see this as Trump trying to buy support. Voters are going to see this as Trump admitting that his policies failed. So this farmer bailout is a political disaster for Trump. This bailout is going to anger farmers. This bailout is going to alienate rural voters. This bailout is going to remind people that Trump's tariffs are hurting the economy. This bailout is going to remind people that Trump's policies are failing. This bailout is going to contribute to Trump's declining approval and support heading into the 2026 midterms. And that's bad news for Trump. That's bad news for Republicans. And it's good news for Democrats who are hoping to flip rural seats and take back the House.